Hello and welcome to today's webinar. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars will be recorded and sent to all attendees after the webinar has concluded. Tomorrow, the recorded webinar will be sent to all participants. There will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask questions during the webinar by clicking on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. I may not get to everyone's questions, but we will do our best. With that being said, I would like to introduce you to Ruben Franco, President and CEO of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Edna, and thank you everybody for being on this call and participating in the Retool, Recover, and Restore boot camps for your business sponsored by Wells Fargo. I'm Ruben Franco. I'm the President and CEO of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber. I'm also the Center Director for the Orange County Hispanic Chamber's SPDC. We're pleased to have on our call today presenting another Center Director of our Cal State Fullerton South Campus. He's a great entrepreneur himself and was great in consulting businesses and just adds a lot of value to you and your businesses like we all do at the SPDC. You know, if you need further assistance with us and for anything one-on-one consulting, it is provided at no cost. We do get funding from the SBA. We get funding from the GoBiz office of the governor of the state of California. And we do get money from different banks such as Wells Fargo, who's sponsoring today's call. So without further ado, let me introduce to you my colleague, Mike Hill.
Thanks, Ruben, and thank you, Edna, for putting this program together. Super excited to be with you guys today. Just let me see, Edna, I don't know if I can turn on my video, but doesn't look like I'm able to. So we'll just do this with audio in the presentation. So thank you very much for taking the time to learn a little bit about what we're seeing in the marketplace and some of the strategies that are being deployed. You know, this is a very unique and special time in America, certainly in Orange County, and what we're going to attempt to do today is present you with some ideas on strategies that are actually working in the marketplace. And before I get into that, let me just share with you a little bit more about the SPDC. You know, Ruben talked a little bit about it, and I just want to add a little bit more, sorry. So programs and workshops, kind of a key area that we focus on, this being one of them. And a lot of our programs and workshops are sponsored by partners, in this case, Wells Fargo, which we greatly appreciate, and they've been super supportive of small business. We do a one-on-one consulting, so you can come in, you can sit down with an entrepreneur, former business owner, or current business owner with a great deal of business experience to help you move your venture forward. And funding assistance. Capital acquisition is a big, big part of what's needed for many small businesses today. And there are a ton of resources available. You know, it's not just about EIDL and PPP and even SBA loans, city grants. Wherever we can find capital, we want to help you access that capital. So that's what the SBDC is all about. And really, we focus on 4 core competencies. So it's cash management, or what I like to call the business financial literacy. And a lot of entrepreneurs have a very clear idea on how to run their company, and they run it by instinct and feel. I certainly did that. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years, and I could tell every single day how my business was doing based on a handful of different data points. You know, for me, I was in the dental industry, and so how many cases did we get in every day? That was a sign of health of my business. But when you start to get into the financial literacy part, really understanding your P&Ls and how decision-making impacts sales and profitability, that's a key area that we can help business owners really learn more about their company and how their decisions are impacting that. Our goal is to keep you profitable and to keep you viable until the sort of craziness around this COVID crisis gets over, and we can get back to whatever the new normal is going to look like. We focus on customer acquisition, and that is everything marketing and everything sales. Whether it's you going online and trying to build your first Shopify account or e-commerce, or just trying to expand a product line, anything related to marketing, we have a really, really strong team of consultants who are here to help. And in our network, which is the Orange County Inland Empire Network, we have well over 100 consultants. Some of them are in the finance area, some of them are in marketing, some of them are in HR, but we can align you with people who can most help your business at the given moment in time that you need help. Team alignment. So this is really about people and human capital. finding them, hiring, training, retaining, making sure that your compensation is properly aligned with the goals and objectives of the organization. So we'll focus in on that and help you there. And then lastly, it's really about the execution of the plan. A lot of consultants out there will give you strategy and give you ideas on what you should do to move your business forward, but we're going to sit with you and walk with you as you execute those strategies and help you make that happen. So that's our core competencies, and that's what we focus on. And most importantly of all, when you come to the SBDC, every one-on-one, every program, everything you do with us is at no charge. We are paid, as Ruben had mentioned, we are paid through grants from the SBA, through grants from the state of California, and then lots of local community partners such as banks and chambers. They support us and allow us to bring this content and to bring this assistance to business entrepreneurs like yourself. Let's jump into the content though and get started. Just give you a little bit about my background. So I am the director, as Ruben mentioned, for the CSUF SBDC South. Last year, we helped about 1,600 businesses. This year, we're about 4,000 businesses, and that's really been driven a lot through the COVID crisis, and more businesses are reaching out for assistance. I myself am an entrepreneur, 20 plus years. Worked in the service industry, also started a couple of software companies, took those to exit. So from the garage to selling them. And then I'm an angel investor as well. So understanding value and how you drive value into businesses, I think is an area that I can bring some insights. And then 20 years of light manufacturing background. So these are some of the areas that I focus on, and every one of our consultants has a profile like this. And so when you come into our center, what we attempt to do is to align you with a consultant who has some experience and expertise in your industry. Because at the end of the day, if we can't speak the vocabulary of your business and your industry, it's going to be hard for you to see the value that we can bring. And we get that and we understand that. Today, we're going to talk about three main things. The first one is really this reopening. Now, reopenings kind of happen. A lot of businesses, most businesses, have reopened, and they're sort of testing the market right now, trying to figure out, can they be viable? I like to use the word reemergence, because prior to COVID, you were successful. Your business had no issues. And I mean, maybe you had some challenges, but you were profitable because you could pay your bills. You knew you were viable. You had employees and you could support them. And now we're reemerging back into the marketplace, and it looks very different. So we want to take a targeted approach. I'm going to help walk you through that. By the way, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'll attempt to answer those questions at the end of the presentation, if that's okay. So business viability considerations. Again, I just kind of going back to that sort of shared story where I was explaining to you that, like you, as an entrepreneur, and I ran my company, I knew how my business was doing by a couple of data points that I could feel and observe in my business every single day. And so, but that didn't tell me if I was really viable. There's a lot more that I needed to understand. So today, you need, as you reemerge into the marketplace, has the market changed? Do people still want your product or service? So I'm just going to list these, and then we're going to talk about them. Will people buy your product or service? Even if they want it, are they going to buy it from you? Do you have a predictable source of customers? Because you do have attrition. Can you replace those customers? Do you know where they're going to come from? Can you sell your product or service at a profit today? That's a big question for a lot of businesses today. And do you have enough capital to get you back to profitability if you are not profitable today? And do you have enough cash flow to sustain operations? Just because your business can be profitable, we know you have to invest in your business. And so will the cash flow allow you to sustain operations until you hit profitability? So I want to talk about a couple of things. There's some good news. And the good news is this has happened before. Now COVID is a little bit different. The shutdown's been a little bit different, but industries have been displaced by technological disruptions, informational disruptions, process disruptions. So, mom and pop businesses that operated a certain way, or boutique-sized companies, they have been displaced by these kinds of innovations. There have been financial disruptions. We saw that back in 2008, 2009. There have been regulatory disruptions, not dissimilar to what we're seeing right now. Social disruptions have affected businesses, and of course, health disruptions. What makes this different is the abruptness of the shutdown And with these other ones, there was a period of time as these were taking over. If you think about technology, just as one example, if I think about cameras and film processing, there were lots and lots of mom and pop businesses that would process camera, take your Kodak camera and take pictures, and you dropped off your film. Even Costco did that for a while. But today with digital phones and digital cameras, that whole entire industry has gone away. But it took some time for that to happen. We can see the PC market really getting diminished because of the phone. But again, they had time. In our case today, it was very abrupt. And so that shutdown, that's my little power button there. We're now having to try to reset and go back into a market that we were unprepared for the transition. So let's talk about 5 considerations when you're thinking about this reemergence back into the marketplace. First is the sales. So have your customers changed? If we proceed with the assumption that everything is going to be the same and we act like everything is going to be the same, I think we're making a big mistake. And after working with 4,000 businesses just this year, I can tell you that in most cases, there's a pivot that has had to happen for these businesses to be successful. An iteration of the way that they connect with and communicate with their customers, because behavior has changed. Shopping behavior has changed. And the real question is it a forever change? And the answer is probably some of it is and some of it isn't, but you have to ask that of your own business. And so as we think about that, we want to start to think about how that impacts our P&L. So COGS, or cost of goods, or cost of sales, is a big issue. And the real question is, has my gross margin remained the same? Because at the end of the day, you might still be able to reach your customers, but are you reaching your customers in a profitable manner? We think about the restaurant industry that is operating at 25% capacity. I was in Chicago recently, and they've just opened up, and they're at 40%. So restaurants can have 40% of what they used to have. Can you be profitable at a 40% capacity? And so when we think about gross margin, there's some changes that we have to make and really be aware of. And this is really important as you're thinking about reemerging, because we don't want to spend more family wealth and the time, the commitment you put into building this business, unless we know for sure we can enter and reemerge in the market profitably, or at least we have a pathway to profitability. Let me help you think about this just for a minute. So hopefully you can see this okay. Now it's a little bit small. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is Amazon's P&L. And if you work with an accountant, or you work with a CPA, or you're even in QuickBooks, and at the end of the month you get a P&L, and your P&L probably looks a little bit like this. The message I really want to deliver when it comes to the reemergence of the market and the decisions that you're making to reconnect with customers and re-engage them is every single decision will hit your P&L. And what we have to do is we have to know where it's hitting the P&L. And it may not be as obvious as you think. And so let's walk through that just for a moment. And I'm going to give you some suggestions on how you should be talking to your accountant and talking to your CPA if you have one. And if you don't, or you need some help on this, you can reach out to the SBDC and come in, and every one of our consultants in this center have been trained on how to help you through this process. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the first part of this reemergence is really understanding your revenue. And the more diversified your revenue streams, the safer you are. But we need to have some information about where your income is coming from, where that revenue is coming from. So your P&L might look something like this. Your accountant gives it to you, and it basically says, here's my gross revenue, here's my returns, my discounts, and then there's my net revenue. And that's what they give to you. So let's talk about that just for a second, because this is a really important key to focus in on. Gross revenue and net revenue are two different numbers. And a lot of times you'll get from your accountant kind of this top line number, this gross revenue number, but we can't look at that. We have to look at net revenue. That's how much money actually hits your bank account. A lot of entrepreneurs miss this piece because credit card transactions and returns and discounts, it starts to add up. In some businesses, it can be as high as 5 or 7% when you add all that up. That's a big hit to your bottom line. So we want to focus on that. Second thing you want to do is you want to ask your accountant to open up and give you a full breakdown of all your revenue streams. We don't want to see a summary number like this. We want to see what every product is, or every service that you are generating income from. We want to see each one of them because we need to understand what's driving your viability, your profitability. So this is a really, really important piece, is this revenue analysis. And again, if you're uncomfortable with this, that's okay. We understand that you know how to run your business, but maybe no one has really sat with you and helped you here. Come into the SBDC, let us help you with this revenue analysis. It's totally free for those services. So, and again, we're gonna focus on net revenue. Let me walk you through this real quick. So your P&L comes up, your accountant gives you product A, you generate it, and here's product A. We're gonna focus in just on product A for a minute. So product A was 63,000 net revenue. And then my cost of producing product A or delivering product A is 41,000. So my gross profit is $21,890. So let's break this down for a minute because we don't have enough information to know. You might look at this and go, 21,000, that's really great. I'm making $21,000 on that product. That's fantastic. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. Let's take a look at, because we don't have enough information right now. So if we were to compare the other products, product A, B, and C, you might look at this and go, okay, well, product B generates 7,000. That's pretty good. And product C only generates 2,800. But product A and B, maybe that's an area I really want to focus on. But I would challenge you that you don't have enough information right now to really make a decision on where you should be spending your time and on what's going to help you remain viable and competitive in the marketplace. And let me show you what I mean. So we want to look at our gross profit margin. So product A, we run a 33.5% gross profit. Product B has got 82% gross profit. And product C, we're at 20%. And that may look amazing. And you go, wow, product B really is going to generate some real profit for us, gross profit now. And we may want to focus on that. But I would argue, again, you don't have enough information yet. We need a little bit more information before we can make a decision on how we're going to reemerge in the market, where we're going to spend our time and where we're going to focus. And we need to understand what the industry is doing. So if we take our industry averages, we can see on product A that generates $21,000 of gross profit, but we are at a 33% gross profit margin, and the industry average is closer to 50%. What does that mean? That means that you are not competitive in the market. That means that your cost to produce that product and get it in the hands of your customers is costing you too much money. And over the long term, you will lose because your competitors have more profit to put back into their sales and marketing to win your customers. So we have a problem with product A. So from a revenue analysis, we want to focus in and ask ourselves, how come we're not at least as profitable as the industry? So that would be an area that we would focus in. And then we look at product B and we say, the industry average is 35% and we're at 82%. We are crushing it on product B. We have a massive competitive advantage. We are the low cost producer. If you were working with me, I would sit with you and say, let's build out a strategy to really expand product B sales because every dollar increases our ability to separate ourselves from the competition. We can pour money back into marketing and sales and dominate in this product space. So this would be an area of opportunity that we would want to focus on. And then product C, we look and we go, you know what, we're running at about industry average, maybe a little bit better than that, which is fantastic. So product B and product C look like really interesting opportunities to me to drive more profit and also to improve our competitiveness in the marketplace. So the point of this exercise is to make sure that we know decisions that we're making when we reemerge are decisions that will keep us viable and to make us more successful. So, and we'll help you with that. If that's something that you're not comfortable with, we can help you do that. And if you don't have a P&L and you don't know how to build a P&L, we'll help you with that as well. We can do that for you. So let me go into just a little summary here so you understand gross profit. It is different than profit, and that's really important. So revenue, so basically everything that comes into your company minus the cost to get that. So if I've got to use credit cards or I'm using cash apps and I get a 1% fee on that, or I've got commissions I have to pay, that maybe I'm going to discount off of my revenue, or I've got returns and allowances. Maybe I give a 5% discount to vets. That's a lot of businesses do that. That comes right off of your gross revenue, and we've got to get to net. So we want to focus on net revenue. And when we look at that, we need to ask ourselves, what's changed since COVID? And I can tell you right now, the largest credit card processor very quietly has increased your credit card transaction fees by 0.5 basis point. Wall Street Journal reported that. Most businesses have ignored it. They had to make up for the loss of transactions that were happening. So your costs have gone up. So you might want to visit that. 0.5%, that's a big number for a lot of businesses. And then we look at cost of goods. And cost of goods are just your direct, cost of goods or cost of sales, depending on the industry that you're in. But it's the direct cost to deliver that product to your customer. So it's the direct labor, the people that are actually making your product. It's your shipping, your direct shipping. If you use UPS to deliver, that's a real cost that comes out of your cost of goods. And then, and then your materials, your direct materials, the materials you use to build that product. This has nothing to do with rent. This has nothing to do with utilities. It has probably nothing to do with whatever you're paying yourself and a whole bunch of other things. This is just the cost to produce the product. You need to make sure that your gross profit margin is competitive in the market today, not what it was before, but today. And again, we can help you with that. We can do the research to tell you, here's what your industry is at a state level and even at a local level. So let's talk about the third consideration when we're talking about this reemergence. And that is, what does your runway look like and how is it trending? So understanding if you have enough cash on hand to sustain your operations. So we're going to look at revenue streams and expenditures, all the sources and uses of your funds, and what capital do you need? So let's talk about that. So a lot of you got idle in PPP, and some of you have other opportunities. You have some vendors that you can work with. Maybe you owe them some money, or maybe you don't, but maybe you can extend your credit terms with them. Maybe you have some cash on hand, friends and family. Maybe there's some assets that you're carrying in your business that you don't need and they're not producing. Maybe we can sell those assets or get them out of your company. So there's a whole bunch of opportunities that we want to look at to understand what is the opportunity to get cash into our business? Where's it going to come from? So if you were sitting with me as a consultant at the SBDC, what I would do is I would build with you a cash flow or a reopening or a reemergence cash flow analysis to get back into the marketplace. And we'd forecast this out probably till June of next year, which seems to be the consensus on when a vaccine will be available and maybe things will start to get back to normal and people will feel more comfortable getting in the market. So I'd go at least 6 months, maybe longer. And what we would do is we'd identify where we're going to run out of money and if we're going to run out of money. And if we're going to run out of money, we will start planning today to access capital to get us through that. And hopefully your P&L, and this is a real P&L from one of our clients, we redacted all the information, but we're going to help you figure that out. You have to identify where those shortages are coming from. That's something that you must do before you reemerge into this market and start pouring money into marketing. We're going to look at AR. Now, if you're a retail or a Main Street business, you probably don't have a lot of accounts receivable. But if you are in like personal services or professional services, or maybe you're selling B2B, and I'm going to do business with another business, you might extend them credit terms, 30 days or net 15 or something like that. And what you want to do is you want to evaluate. Now, you find this on your balance sheet. Again, I don't want to complicate this. If you need help, just come in and we'll walk you through this. We do this every day. You may not be, so we can help you with this. But you need to understand, has your aging changed? Because if your aging has changed, then the way that you think about this reopening is going to change, and the use of your cash is going to change. Let me give you an example. So this could be a month period, or this could be an annual period. But let's say you start the year with $50,000 and you end the year with $60,000. So you're going to create what's called your average account receivable. So you're going to add those, the start and the end periods together, and divide it by 2, because you've got 2 periods that you're measuring. So my average AR in this case is $55,000. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I do want you to understand a real basic concept here. And that is, we're trying to figure out how long does it take for you on average to get paid, or how long do you have to wait to pay your bills for the money that you're investing into your business. So In this case, I've got $55,000 in accounts receivable. So we're going to figure out what our annual sales number is. In this case, it's 600,000. I'm just using that as an example. And then I can calculate by this net revenue, so net credit sales, which are all the sales that you have that are on credit, not cash transactions, like someone just walking in and at a restaurant and paying for their ticket, but anything that you sell on credit where you have to wait to get collected. So that's your gross sales minus returns, and then you divide that by 365 days. And so I'll take that 55,000 and I can do real quick math here, and I can see that it's going to take me on average 33.5 days to collect money that product that or service that I deliver on credit to my customers is 33 days. So now we want to know, has this changed today? Are your customers, because they're hurting too, are they asking you, hey, I'll pay you in 45 days or 50 days or 60 days? They're still paying you, and maybe they're still a good customer, but they're taking longer to pay you. What's the impact to your bottom line? What's the impact to your cash flow? So we're going to help you walk through that. So this exercise is incredibly important when you're trying to determine if you're going to run out of money and how much money that you need. So you might want to look at things like your payment policies and maybe re-communicate them to your customers. Hey, you guys, I need you to pay in 10 days or a little bit longer. And that's an art more than a science. I'm well aware that we might have to talk about that. So we want to make sure that we have visibility on this number. And then finally, it's your G&A. So these are the other expenses in your business that don't specifically come into delivering the product. So it's your rent and your utilities. And the question is, as an executive or the CEO of your business, how well have you adapted? How good of an executive are you in crisis? And what I mean by that, have you cut your costs? And so fixed costs need to reflect current sales conditions. So managing your rent, managing your utilities, your business insurance, and there's just a handful of things in here. Every one of these we are going to want to audit and ask ourselves, can we reduce these costs? Can we cut this overhead? One of the areas that we've been helping businesses today is with their landlords, and sitting down with their landlords and writing plans on how to get a reduced rent for some period of time, how to potentially get some abatement of the rent, that is forgiveness of the rent, how to defer the rent. But you can't do that unless you have a plan. No landlord is going to, just because you're a nice guy or a nice lady, going to say, you know what, I really liked having you as a tenant, I'm going to go ahead and just give you some free rent. Because that could just be a walk-away situation in their mind. What we have to do is we have to create a plan for them and say, we need some assistance, we intend to stay in business, this is what our plan looks like. And we can help you write that plan. One of our consultants, she's unbelievable. We have two in particular at my center that are unbelievable. One of them used to be handle all the leases with Simon Malls. And so she worked on the other side of the table. She helped, she's the one who worked with the tenants to get those leases done. So she knows all the tricks, she knows the language, she knows what they're looking for, but she more importantly knows how to approach landlords in a meaningful way and in a thoughtful way so that we can win some concessions. And she has been unbelievably successful as of late. But the point is, we're going to go through your fixed costs. We're going to help you and figure out where can we reduce our costs so that our cost structure reflects our current sales. So let's talk about point number 2. Remember, and that's financial literacy and some of the things that we want to talk about. You don't have to come to us, of course, if you feel comfortable doing it, but these are some of the things you should be thinking about. And if you don't feel comfortable, come on in. It doesn't cost you anything. We'll sit down and we'll help you create a plan and get some visibility on your business. Now let's talk about your workforce. So this human capital challenge. The pandemic unemployment insurance was devastating to a lot of Main Street businesses because, frankly, your employees were making more money sitting at home and not working than they were in your business. For a lot of you, not everybody, but for a lot of you. And so it's very possible, and it looks like that might happen again. So how are we managing this task? What do we need to be thinking about? So I'm just going to give you a couple of goals here. So first is really having a kind of a staffing plan that's tied to the financial forecast. That's why we start with the financial analysis. Then we can start to make some decisions about who do we need in our company. And by the way, there's an opportunity here for a lot of you. I can tell you that in my business, I had employees that have been with me for a long time, and over time, their wages, their compensation got pretty high. In fact, it got uncompetitively high because they had been with me for so long, and I really valued them as staff members. They made amazing contributions to my business. But at the end of the day, you have to respect your business. You have to look at a position and say, what is the position worth today? Not how do I feel about that employee, because that is a really quick way to putting yourself in an uncompetitive situation. You have to look at the market because you've got to compete in the market. So when we talk about labor, when we think about compensating labor, we want to make sure that it is in line with the market. And one of the best and easiest ways to do that is kind of a little tip for you, is go on to Indeed and go on to LinkedIn and go on to a lot of these job sites. You can even go on Craigslist and just search for the positions that you have in your company and see what everybody else is paying today. You should not be paying more than that. And if you have staff members that have been with you a long time, you're very quickly, you're going to see, I'll just give you an example in professional services. Got a medical doctor, he's got an office manager. So in this case, the office manager is making about $85,000. But the industry average is closer to $60,000. So he has $25,000 less, plus payroll taxes and employer liability, $25,000 less available to him for marketing than his competition. That's a problem. And we need to deal with that problem today. And so as you think about workforce planning, these are some of the things that we're going to want to talk about. Make sure you're really intentionally getting your labor costs at a competitive level, a competitive level with your competition. And we want to look at industry averages as well. Let me just kind of show you an example. So before we were talking, same model, we're talking about product A and the net revenue. And when you open up cost of goods, you can see labor, materials, commission, shipping. Maybe you have some advertising fees that are directly, like direct advertising. But we want to focus on labor for a moment. So we have $20,000 of labor that it takes to produce product A. So you might look at this with your accountant and look from September to August and go, well, in August we were at 19,000. This month we're a little bit high. Sales have gone up a little bit. That's fantastic. I think we're doing good. It looks like we're managing it. And I would argue with you again, you don't have enough information to know if your company is going to be successful or if your business is going to be viable. We have to be more intelligent. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at labor as a percent of sales. So this was the quick math, 31% cost of sales is that labor. In August, it was at 37%. So we said, you know what, hey, that looks fantastic. We've actually reduced, on a percentage of sales, we've reduced our direct labor costs. We dropped it 6%. And that's amazing. That's really good, but you have to answer the so what question. So if our cost of labor isn't dropping enough, our direct cost of labor isn't dropping enough to match our decline in our revenue, you might have a duplication of effort happening in your business or your operations that we want to take a look at, because maybe you've got some misalignment with the way that your staff is being deployed and how they're working. You might have staff, and I hate to say it, but you might have staff, and let's just be honest here, we're talking to you, the business owner, that are kind of milking the hours. So you've cut your staff and you really don't have enough work to keep them busy, but a job that used to take 90 minutes to do, all of a sudden is taking 3 hours to do, because they want to make sure that they have compensation that they can take home. So it's costing you more money to produce that unit. So we really want to look from a management perspective at, are we being efficient and are we being as productive as we were pre-COVID? And then finally, you might just be in a situation, as I mentioned before, where you've got some poorly executed compensation plans. But this is the moment in time, an amazing opportunity today to fix that, to reemerge as a very lean, super competitive business. So we want to talk about those things. And then finally, we're going to do an org chart. And we're going to look at your org chart pre-COVID, and then we're going to look at your org chart today. And at the SBDC, we'll kind of help you think about some of the more modern approaches to labor alignment and how they how the reporting relationships work, because of course you want to get everyone, on the same page, buying into the same goals, the same objectives. And so there's some new approaches and some new methodologies for really driving productivity. We can help you with that. But more importantly, just having a clear picture of what did you have before and what do you have today, and how is your organization functioning as a team? Are they properly aligned? And again, because of COVID and because of disruption, you have a unique moment in time to fix this. Because you and I know that prior to COVID, if you've been in business for a bit, prior to COVID, introducing change into your labor force instantly is going to hit your morale, and it's instantly going to cost you money. But you didn't cause this change. And so let's take that as an opportunity to affect our business in a positive way. So let's talk about the last consideration. And I'll have 5 considerations for you on customer acquisition. There's a saying in business, and you've all heard it, and that is sales solves everything. And to some extent, that is true. The more sales we get, more customers that come in, we're driving more revenue, we're driving more cash flow. We can spend money to fix problems. It's not the best way to handle things, but it certainly is. It takes a lot of pressure off, knowing that you have a steady stream of business coming in. So let's talk about customer acquisition, what we should be thinking about today. And before we get into that, I just want to share with you some good news. I can tell you anecdotally from working with the businesses just at our center. So about 4,000 businesses at our center. And by the way, in our network, last year our network saw 3,000 businesses. We helped 3,000 businesses in 9 centers from Orange County and Inland Empire. This year, our network has been helping over 10,000 businesses so far, and we're not even done. The year's not over yet. 10,000 new businesses. I can share with you a couple of stories that I think will be helpful for you to hear. And that is, one, there are gyms today that are open that are doing more business than they were pre-COVID. There are a number of restaurants that are doing more business today than they were pre-COVID. There are retailers with the same story. Now, I understand that's not the general rule. Most businesses are struggling. I hear that. But there are anecdotes, not just 1 or 2, but numerous anecdotes where the entrepreneurs have found a path forward, creative, lean, courageous, and they've gotten out there and they've repositioned their companies and they're doing quite well. What will it look like in the wintertime? I don't know. Seasonality has something to do with that. As it gets colder, some of the changes that they've pivoted to might not be as viable. But the point is, they found a path forward. You can too. It's just we've got to be, so look, as an entrepreneur, I was very close to my business and I can only see what was in front of me. Fresh eyes coming in gives me perspective. It gives me objectivity, and it helps me reintroduce creativity into my business. And that may be something you would need. And if it is, working with peers and people around you, your advisors, obviously coming in to work with the SBDC, we want to help with that. But wherever you can get objective eyes looking at your business and helping you think through it, I think that has been super helpful here. I think it can be super helpful in your business. But let's talk about customer acquisition. So the first thing is really about some of the reconcepting concepts that are going on. The world has changed. And again, if your customer's behavior has changed, and you have to ask yourself, is it permanent? Well, there are a lot of businesses that are saying, big companies, big franchise systems that are saying, yeah, it's permanent. So let me give you an example. Taco Bell, they have a 2021 launch of their new drive-through service where they'll take mobile orders. The footprint of the stores are going to be 50% smaller than what they were pre-COVID. So they're really downsizing, and they're opening up 2 lanes, really trying to capitalize on this drive-through phenomena, the way that this touchless, contactless behavior has changed with customers. Chipotle, they have a new business model called Chipotlanes. Again, mobile orders. They're going to retrofit 60% of their stores, and they'll have a dedicated kitchen inside of their Chipotle store just for mobile orders and for supporting the delivery services like Grubhub and Uber Eats and some of the other ones that are out there. So Chipotlane's is their pivot. So when you think about reconcepting your business, the first place you need to start with is e-commerce or your online, your ability to sell your product or service online. And some of you are going to say, that's not an opportunity for me. I really can't sell my product or service online. And that may be true. But I will tell you that gyms, when you thought about gyms and you said, man, gyms can't sell online. They need to be working with their trainers. They need to have the equipment or whatever. There has been a massive adoption to online fitness programs where they have built these platforms like Peloton and Mirror, where trainers can go on and connect with people in their homes. Not only Peloton's more about equipment, Mirror is all about a platform, but the point is, gyms, if I had asked you pre-COVID, could there be a transition of gyms and fitness to an online business? That's been around for 20 years and it never really took off. Today, it's booming. So that's a space that's really interesting to think about. Health. You know, if you're a healthcare provider, maybe you're a dentist or maybe you're a healthcare service provider, you know, how can you really use online platforms? Well, teledentistry, telemedicine is becoming more widely accepted. Can you get on the the wave part of that curve, the part that's really driving growth forward? Certainly there's a path. Certainly there are all kinds of platforms where patients are looking for that. So I think there's a really interesting opportunity in that space. And retail. So the average retail should have a minimum Main Street business, 50% or more of your revenue. This is just kind of an average nationally, should be coming from online sales. If you're not there yet, this would be an opportunity for you and an area that we would want to focus on with you to increase that portion of your revenue. Again, diversifying your revenue stream, diversifying the channels where people can access your product. It should be closer to 50%. How do you do it? We help you. Just come on into the SBDC. These are some of the platforms that we work with, and we will help you from soup to nuts, get your store up and running and get your product selling on these platforms. We have a program that's getting ready to start called Webify, and we're going to take any business that has a product that is ready to get online and they need help with that. We're going to build the whole thing for you, with you. We're going to build the whole thing with you. And by the way, I've challenged our consultants to take a product of their own from scratch and put it online and drive sales with you all watching us do that together so that we work as a team and we share the experience. So that's called Webify. My email was presented at the beginning, and I'll throw it back up there. If that's something you're interested in, you can send me an email and I'll make sure that you're invited to that program. Let's see what else. Messaging from a reconcepting perspective. This is big. To win customers back, you've got to convey trust. So you need to tweak your message. Consumers are much more safety conscious now. It's really about the experience and the comfort. Although a lot of people are going out and we say, oh, people don't seem to matter that much. They're not wearing their masks. But that's a small portion of the consumer market. The bigger portion of the consumer market, they're going online, they're staying away from the retail stores, they're not going out as much. But tweaking your message and conveying that trust can really do a lot for you. You think about Citibank, Kit Kat, BMW, Mountain Dew, they've all started to change their taglines. I love BMW, it's the ultimate stay-at-home machine. Kit Kat, have a break, have a lockdown. You know, you can be clever, you can be whimsical, but you can convey something to your customers that we're a safe place. So tweaking the message, super important. And again, if you don't know how to do that or you need some help with that, that's what we're here for. We can help you with that. So flexibility. You know, you have to continue to audit your business on a regular basis. What are you tracking? What are you looking at? What's happening, not just inside your business, but what's happening outside of your business? And so really taking a holistic view, and that's probably the most important piece of this. You might be really good at sales, or you might make an amazing product in your production operation is killer, and you know you've got something really special for the market. But can you put it all together? Can you have your production, your teams? Can you acquire customers consistently and scale your business? And can you have a clear sense of your financial operations? Can you pull all that together and really being flexible and moving around based on what's happening in the market. You know, that's a critical consideration. And so I want to talk to you about just a few considerations in that area. And that is redundancy. What happens if your supply chain shuts down? Do you have a backup ready to go? Have you reached out and talked to other suppliers of your product domestically or internationally in case something happens? Like, you know, we had a situation earlier where the government, you know, got into a trade situation with China, and that impacted a lot of the supply chain. COVID obviously did that as well. So do you have some redundant solutions available to you? Diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, bringing your team together because look, it can be a lonely job, right? Being a CEO, being an entrepreneur. Do you have people around you who can come in and be a part of a solution that you need because they see things a little bit differently? Also, a diversity of ideas will open up new opportunities for you, things that you can't see because you're too close to your company. You know, I didn't see. And someone came in, and I had actually a competitor came in, and we sat down and we had lunch one time, and he opened up my eyes to a new product opportunity that we went into, and it jumped our business by 30%. It was an incredible opportunity. I didn't have a monopoly on good ideas, nor do you. So we want to make sure that we have a diversity of that. Evolvability. Is your business moving with your customers in the market? Nothing stays the same. We have to be thinking about what's next and where do we go from here. Prudence. This could happen again. This economy could be shut down again. What are you doing and how are you preparing yourself in the eventuality that that occurs? So this contingency planning that you'll need to do. And then finally, really a great consideration is embeddedness. When you think about the people who buy your product or service, what more can you do to help their business so that you are embedded into their operations, not just as a vendor, but as a partner? Is there something that we can do to really help grow their company so they rely on you so much that they can't go anywhere else? Because it is about to get noisy with your competition as the economy begins to open up, and more of your competitors who did make it through this vie for those customers. And because your customers aren't at capacity, then that means that you've got more competition. You know, when everyone's really, really busy, you don't have as much competition banging on your customers' doors. But when there's a scarcer amount of demand, that whole supply industry, the place that you're in, you're on the supply side, we're going to compete together for a smaller piece of the market. So how do we get through that? We have to really lock ourselves in with that customer somehow. So we want to think about those things. Again, these aren't about answers. These are about strategies. And again, we can help you with that if that's something that you're looking for. So find, 4 is channel and making sure you're measuring where your profits are coming from. And everything you do today should drive to profitability, not top line, bottom line. And that's a big difference. A lot of people are saying, I need to grow my sales by 10%. I would much rather grow my profit by 5% and maintain my sales than grow my sales by 10% and get 1% increase in profit. So we want to think about how do we make that happen? And you've got to measure every single dollar of marketing and what channels are driving it. And that's what we're going to double down on. You need to build out some kind of technology like this, a dashboard where you have all that information at your fingertips. And there's a lot of free and very low cost platforms that can help you do that. If you can help with that, reach out. Our consultants can help you. This is something we've been trained for. And then we want to rethink. Did I just do that twice? I did. Yeah. This is really more about rethinking your customers. So this is about the opportunity. Where are your customers? Who are your customers? And have new segments emerge in your space. So we want to build an avatar of your target customer. The demographics, age, sex, income, the lifestyles, what are the interests and values? And by the way, those may have changed recently. We want to make sure we know who it is we're going after. And then the behavior. And what's the lifetime value? And who do they influence and who influences them? Influencer marketing, it's a huge part of the economy today. And we want to be thinking intentionally about that. And we can help you with that too. We can help you identify who are the best influencers in your industry and share with you strategies for reaching out and getting them on board and working with you. Very, very reasonable cost. And so just a couple of examples of some restaurants and some ideas on what's happening with restaurants. Smaller scale, bigger patio, and doing some events to pull people in, but also in a social distancing way. People want to get out. You know, prefix menus, set the pricing, reservation only dining experiences. That's a big, big deal right now. Focus on your chef, really talking about what's special inside your restaurant. And it's not about your menu anymore. It's really about your chef. Who are they? Where do they come from? What's their story? Get your customers connected and invested in the story of your business. A lot of other things, you know, entertainment. People are bored out of their minds. They've been sitting at home. So if you've got some music playing or a band or something, that's going to pull a lot of people in. They're looking for events. And then there's all kinds of things. You can do gift bags. There's really innovative new technologies to help drive the remarketing, getting your customer to come back and see you again. So there's a handful of things that restaurants are doing. From a communication, we've got some ideas. These are things that have been working with some of the other restaurants that I mentioned earlier. I don't want to go into all of them, but there's a handful of things that you can do. By the way, working with your centers to get the landlords that you lease space from, they are invested in your success. So getting their involvement in helping promote some of these opportunities to bring customers to at least to your space or your area would be really helpful. Retail, some of the things that we're looking at in retail, some people are doing trunk shows. Some people are doing like personalized shopping experience. Those get expensive. Some people are doing subscription boxes. You know, what can you do to reach customers in a different way? The try now, pay later. You know, Amazon's really kind of championed that business. They're doing the Amazon wardrobe where you can try things on. You don't like it, send it back, no charge. Can you do that in your business as well? So just looking at what's been available. Dry cleaning business, it's the contactless is kind of the big thing. I don't know about you, but dry cleaners are trying to get their hours figured out has been a little bit tough. I've gone twice to drop off dry cleaning and both times they've been closed. So, you know, how they advertise, I don't know if there's anyone on here, but if you know people in that space, dry cleaning, there's a whole bunch of new ideas. What about a subscription service for dry cleaning? I mean, that could be a really interesting way to stabilize cash flow. We're seeing that happen with a couple of them, and I think they're going to be actually pretty successful at it. It's new, but they're getting into it. Tutoring's a big thing right now. Kids are trying to learn online, particularly in college. Some high schools, you know, kids are going back, but the quality of the education right now, well, let's just be honest, it's not nearly as good as it was pre-COVID. And so parents are very concerned about that. So tutoring represents a unique opportunity. And so can you find ways to get students, and students will do online tutoring now. Can you find a way to connect with them? Can you participate with learning apps? Can you do cross-marketing in other areas that are not specifically competitive to you, but that service the same customer? Fitness, we talked a little bit about fitness and some of the interesting things that are happening with that. People are using Zoom all the time now for this. We'll go into that. We talked a little bit about fitness. There's a lot more to it. Barbershops, man, these guys are in such high demand right now, and it's been really difficult. But if you're having trouble getting new customers, cross-promoting is a big piece of that. A lot of the apartment communities, you know, can you partner with them? Can you have an Avalon Baker Ranch Day or an Irvine Community South Day, and just that group of people can come in and they get a discount? I mean, huge opportunities to work with basically the people who are sitting at home trying to figure out how to get back in to their salons. I mean, some of these salons have waiting lists for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks or longer. Can you find new opportunities? What about opening up in the middle of the night, letting people come in, you know, early mornings? There's a whole bunch of new opportunities there. Look, this isn't easy. It's not an easy time. We know that, but lots and lots of stories of businesses that are making it and turning the situation around. We think there's 3 core areas you need to focus on. That is understanding your finances and how the decisions impact your P&Ls, making sure that your team and staff are properly aligned, and fixing whatever labor challenges from a cost perspective you might have had emerge in your business over the last few years. This is the time to fix that. Let's do that together. And then finally, rethinking or reconcepting how you acquire customers, and really understanding, has your customer changed? Can you reach them in different ways? These are the things that we are spending our time and efforts focusing on with all the businesses that we're working with, and we would encourage you to do the same. And so at this point, I would be willing to take a couple of questions if there are some. Looks like we don't have any. So it looks like there's someone who just stepped out and stepped back in. This presentation will be made available. Edna, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
So will they have access to this presentation?
Yeah, it'll be sent out tomorrow.
Okay, terrific. So we'll get a copy of this, and there's our phone number, and there's our website, and I'll fly back to the beginning of this presentation real quick, and I'll just throw up my, my email address. If you need some help, or you want us to connect you with a consultant in your space, in your industry, to work through some of these challenges, that's what we're here for, and we're happy to do it. So let me throw that up. Sorry, it's taking so long. More slides in right here. There you go. So there's my email address, mike.hill@ociespdc.com. Hopefully this was informative to you, and hopefully it was helpful. And again, we're here for you guys. If you need us, reach out via email, reach out via telephone, and we're happy to help you. Yeah, thank you, Sasha, and I appreciate that very much. Okay, Edna, that's all that I have for today.
Great job, Mike. Thank you for doing this. Great information. So really appreciate it. Appreciate everybody who's been on the call today. Please reach out to us, like Mike said, if you need further assistance. Everybody be safe, be healthy. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Ruben. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.